Hey, it's Kaiser here. My first video from my new studio here in Colorado. And today we're going to be taking a look at my new track, Sweet Nothing. We're going to be looking through the Ableton project and looking at some of the elements that made this track special. I'm really excited on this release. It's been really cool to see it on Sirius Chill, played a ton, and just the love across the board. So let's dive into the project and take a look. And if you haven't heard the track, go check it out. Hey everybody, so now we're here in the project file for Sweet Nothing, and I'm going to just kind of quickly go through and show you what this project's all about, and if anyone ever has any more in-depth questions, let me know. But let's start off. The kind of heart of the song is this guitar loop. Usually I do my own guitar, but this one I found this loop that I just loved and just kind of flowed from there. I was thinking eventually of kind of redoing it myself, but it just fits so well that I wound up keeping it, and that sounds like this. And this guitar loop really gave me the kind of bass for the song. I think a lot of the chords were based on this as well, and you can kind of hear what was layered on top of that. I got a piano from Labs, great free piano plugin. I got some more kind of patty sounds here that are slowly building. I guess one's a Rhodes. And then I also got the start of this kind of gritty bass made in Diva, which is kind of the bass I use the most. It's kind of saw wave bass with a lot of modulation, especially on the frequency cutoff. And that is kind of the root of the song that everything else is based on. And if you just kind of hear that in the intro, a lot of this atmosphere layer too. This is kind of giving that sense of space. You can hear that pads and kind of, I think it sounds like there's some strings in here too that are swelling a little bit. And then when we get to the main section here, I'm introducing another, a sub down here, which is just a pretty clean sub, a little bit of distortion on there. And then also I have this kind of punchy bass that's on the kind of first hit, just to give a little bit more energy. And then the other kind of layer in there that comes in is this atmospheric layer. You can kind of hear that here. And that's really consisting of kind of a drum loop way in the background with a ton of pan that you can barely hear, providing just a little bit of space. This is actually some field recordings from Yellowstone. If you turn this up, it's like Kaiser sound, so it kind of gives this nice watery element, some animals. I got one Diva pad in there, and I also have this real like 16th note bell with a ton of reverb just drowning it out. I'm using Valhalla's Shimmer for that, as well as a little bit of Soothe and a few other things just to make it nice and smooth. And it provides just that nice, airy, kind of like atmosphere that I just love and love in this track. And with that, that's kind of the main kind of root of the song. And then let's go take a look at the drums really fast, and then we'll go to the lead kind of afterwards. So the drums, nothing crazy going on here. Let's just listen to the drum bus together. I think it's here. Again, nothing crazy. The kind of key thing here is, I guess, the kick's missing from that right now, but got a nice punchy kick, got these kind of offbeat percussion elements. Sure, kind of right here. That's actually, I was chopped up from the loop. Got a pretty kind of layered snare here with mostly actually kind of like a snare with a few claps layered there for kind of the main drums. Nice and groovy, and then I have a few different loops that I've included here as well. And then you'll kind of notice that this song has that kind of second half of the main section brings a lot of energy. And that's mostly with these kind of rides that are coming in, as well as this shaker that just brings a little bit more energy. And then I also add a 16th hat in here too. And that just allows me to kind of ramp up the energy levels in this track quite a bit. And then if we kind of put that all together, you'll hear what this song is sounding like, and then we'll go to the lead elements. yeah, there's the root of the song here, and you can see that bass. There's that lot of modulation, which is key here. There's a lot of bit of groove going on in the drums, which just kind of add to the groove of the track and kind of keep you engaged. And then let's see if there's any other thing before we get into the lead, which I know people are interested in. In the breakdown, I have some strings that are coming in here. One of that's a lead, but got some strings that are building with some different chord voicing here, just to provide some tension. And then that kind of brings me to the main lead, and then we can kind of quickly talk about some of the other sweeps and kind of other elements that are just adding a little bit of flavor to everything. But the main lead here is this diva patch, which is a bell-like sound. With that, I have some reductor on there, a good amount of delay, a tiny bit of overdrive that comes in later on. You can see I pump up to 11% wet on the overdrive in the second part to add some energy. And then I have a little bit of soothe in here, which is just taking out some of the harshness of some of those hits and just kind of letting it kind of sit in the mix a little bit more smoothly, more soothly. And that also brings me to the second lead element here, which is the same melody, but a different synth that comes into the breakdown and also goes in the second half of the track. And what really makes this interesting in the breakdown is Crystallizer just providing all that texture, and then as well as a lot of ramping up delays and reverb that just kind of provide, you can kind of see this really airy, super wet synth in the breakdown. And then you'll see that that comes in more dry here in the second half of the track. And that's just kind of in the second half of the track, accompanying this main lead just to provide a little bit more texture, just a little bit more going on, and a little bit of just atmospheric elements, really. It's not really trying to compete with that main bell lead, but just providing a little extra. And that's kind of the heart of the song besides the vocals, so let's listen to that all together. The other thing I'll mention is I have a few other like kind of textural elements in here, a little bit of drone, just to provide something else in the second half. I have this kind of long vocal in the background as well, and I also do have kind of some different sweeps, ramps, and then kind of some noise that comes in again in the like last half of the song just to add more energy, but nothing too crazy there. And then the final thing I'll talk about, I guess we'll listen to it all together, and then we'll bring in the vocals. And you can hear this song sounds like it needs another element, and that's where these vocals will come in. I will say that this track originally was not made as a vocal track. I added those, and this lead basically kind of got bigger here versus the vocals coming in. It sounded a little bit more like this. But what I have done is had to kind of carve out space in the mix for these vocal elements. And let's take a look at the vocals now. These vocals, you'll see I have a lot of different layers here. There's kind of one primary lead, and then I have kind of all the backing vocals as well as some duplicates that include some kind of hard panning. They're a little bit different sonically. One will be a little distorted, one will be very kind of doubled, just to provide some more depth. And if we hear all those vocals together, they kind of sound like this.
If we owned this night, we could stay alive, baby. I could use some loving. Leave me up
and here's the part where we have more of those backing vocals coming in, which is in this harmony group.
The clock is ticking down now. Don't you give me up, sweet nothing. Yeah.
And that's kind of the main vocals. You'll see some of the things I'm doing here is kind of doubling the last phrase. Instead of just counting on an echo to do that, doing that more manually and providing kind of a nice wet echo on there. I got, like I said, all these different kind of layered versions here of the lead.
Leave me up into your bed.
And those are panned, and again, just kind of one has a decapitator on it. It's a little distorted. Another one has kind of a micro shift, which is really kind of getting a little delay in there and kind of creating a chorusy effect, just to provide a little bit more depth. But this song really is using that kind of lead vocal as the primary one, and that's pretty prominent in the
Lead me
mix.
up into your bedroom, we could stay all night.
And on there, I'm going through this Butch Vig from Waves, and that's doing a little bit of de-essing, a little bit of like EQing and a few other things. It's a great plugin that's really fast to work with vocals. I usually will kind of throw that out and do everything more manually, but on this track, I really like the way it sounded, so I kept that. Have a little more compression on there, some EQ, and then just a tad bit of soothe to get rid of kind of some high-end harshness, but really simple stuff there. Most of the kind of wetness of these vocals is really coming from some of the sends down here. I think I'm going through a Valhalla Vintage Verb. I have a really big plate with a side chain to the original vocal. So it's kind of swelling in and out. And then I also have the kind of main delay there. So these sound pretty dry, but there's a lot of the kind of added wetness and depthness that is coming from those sends down there, which is how I've been working with
Let
vocals
your
more
heart be
lately.
free. Look into my eyes, so we're all we need. I got you next to me. Yeah.
And with that, that's kind of the main part of the song. I know this is a really quick overview. It's not going into any of the sound design or anything else, but I figure let me put this out as a quick overview. If anyone is interested, I'm down to dig into more detail. I think this is just kind of what this track is like as a whole. Can kind of see the structure of it, kind of the different sonic elements, but there's definitely a lot more going on here that I'd love to talk about in the future. But with that, it sounds like my the way that I get audio through my streaming is done. So let me know if you have any questions. I will reset that really fast as we're talking, and let us just kind of do one quick listen to everything together here. And I will just let this kind of play out, but thank you so much for watching. If you guys like seeing kind of a little behind the scenes, let me know, because this is something I've done a few times and not had like a ton of traction with. But if it's something that people are enjoying, I would love to do it a little bit more. And also just kind of curious what people are most interested in seeing, because like I said, definitely a very high level, but if anyone's interested in more of the sound design stuff, if everyone's interested in looking at some of the vocal processing in more depth, just let me know.